We're rolling into week 12 with the same questions we've had over these last few weeks. What to do with Keaton Mitchell? What is Keaton Mitchell? What is he going to be? How much of an impact is he going to make for the rest of the season? We're going to deep dive this. We're going to talk about this extensively. We're going to go over the advanced metrics. We're going to talk about some Keaton Mitchell today to help gather a better understanding of what we're deep diving into. But what you need to do right now is click that subscribe button. Tap it with the finger on your phone. Click it with the mouse on your computer. We deep dive the waiver wire every single day. We jump on these deeper prospects, give you the information around them, the advanced metrics, so you can have an understanding of who they are. We help you set your lineups. We also look deep in some of the other players so we can forecast what they're doing later into the season. This is something you need for your research going into next year for your drafts as well. Click that button. Stop missing out. Let's look into Keaton Mitchell real quick. And he has been a hot subject this season. During his time on IR, a lot of people were stashing him because he was a free square on IR. He was a free player that you can have on your IR spot that could go off when he comes back. But then he came back and got hurt again. And then we had to wait a little bit. And then he came back, blew the doors off against Seattle. In the back half of that game, created a lot of questions because it was against Seattle. The Ravens were up a lot. It was in the back half of that game. It was perceived in garbage time, depending on how you want to look at that. Then we got a matchup against the Browns. A tough matchup where a lot of running backs go soft on, but he was able to muster 13.6 PPR fantasy points, had some good runs there, made some stuff happen, but did not get a lot of touches in that game. And then his third game against the Bengals last week gives you a nothing burger. Pretty much 5.1 PPR fantasy points. And going into this matchup, the market jumped to the shark. And I was very surprised about that because a lot of people were starting him no matter what, and they were going crazy about it. And then you get on Twitter and you're going to see stuff like this. Keaton Mitchell is a better start than Josh Jacobs, mute conversation. So a lot of people were bumping him up there, like in the top 10, top 15 of RB rankings. And then me, the guy who makes a Keaton Mitchell video damn near every other day, had to be the guy to calm it down, had to be the guy to go into his comment section and be like, you know what, this is a gamble, and you should be only making this play if your back's against the wall, and it's versus other RB30, RB25 running backs, and you want to shoot for the moon. And if you're not shooting for the moon and you're not going for the gamble, then you may want to look at the other direction. You know what, that other guy in your lineup, he's a little bit safer. We do not know what the touches are going to look like for Keaton Mitchell yet. We do not know. And then I was very confused how the viewpoints was very strong until that game ended. And then these tweets start getting pulled up. Keaton Mitchell over this guy. Keaton Mitchell over Josh Jacobs. And the market jumped the shark. That was one reason why earlier this season, and talking him up in all these videos, because I knew if he was a player that hits, that the market was going to jump the shark because he's a rookie. He's got 4.3 speed. He's on the Ravens who run the ball a lot. And we knew this was going to happen. And this was part of that prospect profile. Not just the fantasy points, but the trade value that would increase. This indicates that in some leagues, dynasty, redraft, leagues out there, there's millions of them out there. And some leagues out there, a lot of them, his value jumped the shark. And this is proof of that. And you could have sold out. So at this point, it's a win. And we need to keep talking about Keaton Mitchell because we now have a portion of the market that's confused on what they're getting into when they're looking at Keaton Mitchell. I've been saying it all along. And we're just going to have to talk some more about it. PPR by week, points 20, 13, 5. Nothing before that because he's been hurt, battling injuries, hamstring, shoulder, everything. He's back now. Looking back at him. Opportunities by week. 10, 5, 9. That does not produce top tier production at a high level. It does not mean you're going to be a consistent fantasy producer. If you're getting 10, 9, 5 fantasy points per game, it's up and down. You're not pushing 15 to 20. It's going to be hard to be consistent week in and week out. But we saw him hit That is a huge indicator here that he can give you top tier production on a low workload. What does that mean? What does that mean when we prospect out for the rest of the season? That means he's a lottery ticket. He's an up and down player. He's a guy that can get you this many fantasy points. But due to the amount of touches he gets, the opportunities, not even touches, the opportunities, those are targets mixed in there, that the workload and the production can be down here as well. And you do not know what you're going to get, and it's not dependent on matchup. It could be a bad matchup, and he hits a little bit. It could be a good matchup, and he doesn't hit due to the workload not going his way, due to the plays not working out in his favor either. Because one thing that has to work out for him, and we've talked about this before, is if the defense messes up, they lay down in front of him, create a hole for him, it's wide open, he's going to house it. Compared to many other running backs in this league, they're not going to do it. But he has the burst, he has the speed, he has the size adjusted athleticism to get it done. He has elite burst, he has top tier speed. He's going to house it if you give him green. That's what's going to happen. This makes him an immense lottery ticket who's probably going to slowly increase the touch volume as he continues to play well. But you're also, during this time, going to see some up and down games. Considering what I was talking about weeks ago, months ago about Keaton Mitchell, we've won on that front line. However, you have to know what you're investing in. We're not drafting a fantasy team. We're drafting a portfolio of players here, and each player is a different type of asset. Keaton Mitchell is that asset that could go boom on you any given week or lay a goose egg on you, score you 5.1 PPR fantasy points. And we can correctly label that, and we can also say that how he's being used and how his upside is used, that is very hard to predict. Tough matchups, he can still hit. Good matchups, he can still hit. Bad matchups, might miss. Good matchups, might miss. There's no locks here. It's up and down. But when he hits, he hits. He hits big, and we can see it. When he doesn't hit, it's going to feel pretty bad. So like I've been saying all along, if you swing for the fences here, you might hit the home run. But also, when you're swinging for the fences, there's also a good chance you strike out. Do not rank him ahead of Josh Jacobs ever again. Do not be playing those types of reindeer games with a player like this until we start getting more stable production. Gus Edwards isn't going anywhere. I've never said that. And Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell, I think they're a perfect pair. I think they're good together. I think Gus Edwards is a good meat shield for Keaton Mitchell. I think Edwards is great for this team. I think he's good around the goal line. I think Mitchell can eat into Hill's touch share. I think he can steal a lot of that. And honestly, when you look at this offense and look at this running back depth chart, I look at Keaton Mitchell as the fastball and Gus Edwards as the breaking ball, and then Justin Hill as the change of pace. They can use them in different ways in different series. And for fantasy football, that's going to drive you nuts. But we know what these assets are. Gus Edwards is going to get the goal line work. He's going to get a lot between the tackles. Keaton Mitchell is the home run hitter. He's the guy that you throw out there. He's the Adam Dunn from back in the day for the Reds, who comes out and he's either going to strike out or hit a home run. You don't know what you're going to get. But when you get it, you love it. But it's also going to strike out sometimes. That's what you're getting with Keaton Mitchell. You need that in fantasy, though. You need players like that. You need players that can hit that home run that you gamble with in your lineup. So you do need him in the back of your roster. But you got to understand what you're getting into. This team runs the ball a lot. They split the carries up pretty good between these running backs. They split the snaps up pretty good here from week 9 to week 17. We got a 40% snap share for Hill, 34 for Edwards, 16 for Mitchell. Again, a lot of this is game script dependent. The sample is kind of small, but with football and an NFL season, things change a lot, and you're always going to be working off small samples. That's just part of the game, and that's why it's very hard to project. But again, we know what Keaton Mitchell is. Also, a thing you want to pay attention to is Mark Andrews. This offense is going to change its identity a little bit. I look for a lot more flow of the targets to go to the wide receivers. Odell Beckham's been looking good. Rashad Bateman's starting to have more pop off the step. Zay Flowers has been good all year. But maybe they try to open things up with these running backs in the passing game. And who would you open it up with? I would play around with Keaton Mitchell. I definitely would with him in the flat. Maybe get some designed targets. Maybe some screen plays here and there. Maybe they try messing around with that. But again, keep your head up with Keaton Mitchell. Keep your head up because we got a good matchup here against the Chargers. If you ask me whether or not you want to start him, I'm going to ask you if you're trying to swing for the fence or not, because that's what I'm going to ask you. Because more than likely, the other running back you're looking at is probably a little bit safer due to the touches. And if you need that safety, go with that running back. But if you need to swing for the fence, knowing that when you swing for the fence, you're going to strike out a lot, then do it and go with Keaton Mitchell. But that's what you're looking at here. He is a guy you swing for the fences with. We have this asset class identified. We know what we got here. You do need that in fantasy to play around with your lineups with. Great for DFS. He's got a good matchup here. We got a bye week coming up. You might see him dumped after or during that bye week. If he does not play well against the Chargers, you might be able to swoop in there. So Keaton Mitchell is a guy you may want to look at here. Looking at the rankings here, 4-4-4 has very conservative rankings, especially with players like this, around the 35 range here. So when you stack them with players around this area, think of this. Is this player safe versus him or not? And if he's a very safe player, you may want to roll with that if you're looking for safety. If you're looking for a home run swing and you want to roll with it and you know there's a good chance you could strike out, Keaton Mitchell, you go with him. That's what I'm going to ask you if you ask me whether or not to start Keaton Mitchell, because it's very subjective here, because we know what's going to happen with him. You cannot make a prediction off the matchup. It's due to the touches, the opportunities, and also due to the plays that are ran and what happens with the defense. He could be granted a ton of fantasy points if that defense falls on their face this weekend. And it's just got to be one or two plays. And he could do that. We saw that against the Browns. We saw that he scored 13 fantasy points in that matchup. Going to PFF, they got him ranked 37. Very conservative here. Very cheap. But he is a home run hitter. Look at these rankings and look, would I want Keaton Mitchell or this guy? Mitchell or this guy? Mitchell or that guy? Look at these rankings and think that through. They got Gus Edwards kind of low. They're worried about the touch share in this Ravens offense. If you kind of look at this, they got Gus Edwards at 29. Got a softer matchup here. Something to look at. Also, Fantasy Pros got him at 34. So you're in the 30 range with Keaton Mitchell. And if you're looking at running backs ranked 20, 25 on a set of rankings, more than likely you're going with that running back unless your gut's really rumbling. If you want to roll with your gut, go ahead. That's you, though. That's you. Fundamentals is different, though. He's a weekly lottery ticket at running back, and that's what you need. And that's it. You don't need him because you do not need that lottery ticket. But again, with the roster size, if you got the spot, you got to look at. He's on your team, though, and you need to handle him as a lottery ticket from week to week. That's how you need to handle him. As a lottery ticket, a home run swing. You swing that bat as hard as you can at that fastball. You have to take the responsibility that I may miss. But if I connect, I'm going yard, son. I'm going yard. And that's what we're doing with Keaton Mitchell. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.